What's up, Wo-Chien? You got Matt here, and today I'm bringing you a guide on how to use Wo-Chien in competitive Pokemon. This is the funky snail ruin Pokemon, so if you're excited for the video, then do me a favor and leave a like on the video and help us reach our like goal today of 75 likes. Make sure to comment your thoughts on Wo-Chien down in the comments below for your chance to be named the winner of the comment of the day, which will appear on the screen right about now. And of course, guys, subscribe to the channel. We're aiming for 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we're getting super close to it. So let's see if we can crush that goal. Let's jump into it. Starting off with Wo-Chien's stats, its distribution is really awkward, I find. It's got 85 base HP with 85 attack, 100 defense, 95 special attack, 135 special defense, and 70 speed. So overall, outside of its really high special defense stat, it's just average or below average at best. 570 overall is great, but just the distribution is really weird. And because of that, it leads to a weird Pokemon. It is a grass and dark type. It is the fourth member of the Dark Quartet, the Ruin Pokemon, and it has weaknesses to fighting, flying, poison, fire, ice, fairy, and to bug 4 times. That is a lot of weaknesses. And it has resistances to ground, ghost, water, grass, electric, and dark, and has an immunity to psychic, and because it is a dark type, it is also immune to prankster. Now, is the typing good or bad? I'm of the mindset that the typing is quite bad. I don't like this typing at all. I don't like it on Meowscarada, I don't like it on Zarude, I don't like it on Shiftry, okay? But obviously there are some advantages to having this typing, but the speed lacking, the typing, plus the other stats, the offensive stat that leads to a Pokemon that I think just doesn't mesh well with the type and stat distribution. As for its ability, it is Tablets of Ruin. This is a really interesting ability. It is the 4th one of the Quartet. This Pokemon, basically the way it works is whenever it's on the field, all other Pokemon except for this one here will have their attack stat reduced by 25%. So if your opponent goes for a Swords Dance, then sure, they get their +2 boost, but then their stats are decreased by 25% after that, which is really valuable. It's a lingering effect for as long as the Pokemon is on the field and can have a lot of utility depending on what you're playing. Obviously, this can be very good in doubles because we already know how good Intimidate is. However, this is not one-sided. It works for both you and your opponents. It has a really interesting move pool here, and thankfully, for the first time, I can say that a Ruin Pokemon gets knockoff. The fact that Wo-Chien, which in my opinion, I'll say it right now, spoilers, is the worst of all the Ruin Pokemon, the fact that it gets knockoff is such a huge advantage. Zarude doesn't get knockoff, but this one does. We take that. This Pokemon having access to knockoff is so big because you can remove the items of opposing Pokemon. With the Scald nerf now being only available to Pokemon like Volcanion, that this is arguably, knockoff is arguably the best move in the game. I think it's a pretty clear argument that you can make. So very good move. On top of that, it has access to Dark Pulse, which is another really good special this time stab option on the dark side, as well as Snarl, really good option in the doubles format because it's spread damage and it lowers special attack. Foul Play could be good in the right situation. You're not the most offensive Pokemon in the world, so having access to Foul Play could be very useful. And then Ruination, which is just Dark type Super Fang or Dark type Nature's Madness. Really, it's just going to be 90% accurate. It's going to remove half the HP remaining on the Pokemon available. This could see a lot of play on a Pokemon like Wo-Chien because its Pokemon's not very offensive at all. Onto its Grass Stab, there's a lot of options, but I'll keep it just to the main 3. Giga Drain is really good. The fact that Giga Drain is able to give you health back is very powerful. It also has 75 base power, which is not bad in the slightest. Then there's Grass Knot, which depending on the opponent Pokemon, it can be one of the better moves to have, or it can be a terrible move to have. But if you're going up against something like a Zygarde in the metagame and you want to break the sub, then Grass Knot is likely what you're going to be going for. On the physical side is access to Power Whip and Seed Bomb, but Power Whip is going to be the main option here in my opinion. Even then, I think that special options are going to be better most of the time. As for its coverage, it gets access to Body Press, which is great considering it has 100 base defense, so that's really solid. Zen Headbutt is not a bad move in the slightest. And then there's Pollen Puff, which actually has a lot of utility because in doubles, it heals your allies by 50%. Very valuable. On top of that, in singles, it is a 90 base power bug move that is special, and you can take advantage of a pretty decent special attack stat on Wo-Chien. As for other status moves this thing gets, it has access to Leech Seed. Definitely going to be seeing a lot of play on Wo-Chien, probably the most common move you're going to see on this Pokemon. It also has access to Reflect and Light Screen. Do I think these moves are going to be very common? No, but they have enough merit to be run on a Pokemon like this because you do have decent speed overall, and I also think that Taunt makes some sense. I mentioned it on Ting Lu, which is super slow. I'm going to mention it on this Pokemon over here. Now onto some teammates for Wo-Chien, some Pokemon that I think are going to pair extremely well with it, starting off with, in my opinion, the best one. That's going to be Skeledirge. Yes, their speed tiers are very similar. However, they pair extremely well defensively just based on typing. The fact that Wo-Chien kind of ish allows setup to happen and then you have Skeledirge there to be unaware is really nice. They wall each other's weaknesses in a really good way, so I do appreciate that quite a bit. Then we have Cyclizar. The reason being is I really like a sub-seed Wo-Chien, so having access to a free substitute from Shedtail is really nice on the Cyclizar, and I guess by that extension you can look at something like Orthworm, but still, Cyclizar is definitely the way you want to go with that because of the speed and regenerator. Then we have Dondozo. I like this combination because it's an amazing defensive core. It's a really fat Pokemon. Again, same deal as Skeledirge, where it has Unaware, very fat, very bulky, can take a lot of hits, and can dish out a good amount of damage too. We then have Gyarados. Why Gyarados? Well, in doubles, Intimidate spam is so valuable. Getting the Intimidate that's spread basically against both opponent Pokemon, which is really good. On top of that, you have access to the Tablets of Ruin to reduce their attack even further, is really nice. And they cover each other's weaknesses extremely well. The fact that Gyarados is only weak to a few typing in like what? Electric and Rock, I think that's it actually. It's really valuable. So overall, the combination, the fact that these Pokemon resist each other's weaknesses is very nice. And then this also allows Dragonlance Gyarados to just sweep like crazy. It's that good at it. If you can do that, getting the -1 in the attack from the Intimidate and then the tablets, you're able to go to town really effectively. Then Arcanine, same deal. Intimidate spam, covering the weaknesses very well. Obviously not as well as Skeledirge, but still very well nonetheless. I think that Corviknight is really good too because you get rid of hazards, so you don't have to worry about taking chip on your Wo-Chien when you're coming in. It means that boots aren't going to be as valuable or as needed on Wo-Chien, but in general, Corviknight pairs so well with so many different Pokemon in the metagame. And then finally, Annihilate, because it's immune to fighting type Pokemon and helps pressure the fairy types for the Wo-Chien. Yes, I know that fighting is resisted by fairy, but Ghost is not, and Rage Fist is a hell of a move. So having access to that with the Annihilate is a really good combination to have to pair with your Wo-Chien. Then for Terra types, again, just like for the Ting-Lu, I don't feel like there's a lot of good options for Terra types. You might as well just Terastalize something else. So kind of keep it, but if you absolutely have to Terastalize your Wo-Chien, I would look at the Steel type because it keeps 2 of the same weaknesses and it gains so much more back from its typing, and it's definitely going to be a lot better when it has a pure Steel typing, 100%. Then I think that Water is also good because it's no longer weak to its original types. The Water is only weak to Electric and Grass, and this Pokemon normally resists those types, which is nice. And it's a better Pokemon because it's going to have a better defensive typing, so I do like that a lot. As for some items, I have 4 of them for you today. The best item I think is going to be, without a doubt, the Leftovers. Why? Because a Sub-Seed or a Protect and Leech Seed set is going to be the absolute best set to have on this Pokemon, paired with like whether it's Foul Play or Snarl, Ruination, whatever the case might be. Having access to those moves with Leftovers and the recovery you're getting back is very important. I then think a Rocky Helmet makes a lot of sense because you're going to be reducing the physical attack of Pokemon significantly with your ability, and you're going to be bulky enough to take the hits, so maybe you can take an incoming Flip Turn or something. Obviously, you don't want to take U-turns, but just so you know, it is that option. That option is there for you. Then we have the Citrus Berry, more so for doubles because Citrus Berry is going to be giving you back a significant amount of HP. But again, I really only see it for a doubles format. And then finally, the Heavy Duty Boots could be really nice in case you're worried about hazards on your build. Just be careful, make sure you have a good hazard setter and you don't have to run boots. But again, it is definitely a possibility. Now for some move sets I'd suggest for this Pokemon, I would look at starting off with a physically defensive set with the Rocky Helmet, running Leech Seed, Protect, Knockoff, and Stun Spore. Stun Spore is there to spread the status and slow down your opponent Pokemon. Leech Seed obviously for just recovery and a bit of chip damage, and Knockoff is so incredibly important on a Pokemon like Wo-Chien. Then I have a specially defensive set with the Leftovers this time. We're running Leech Seed, Protect, and Knockoff once again, but this time we're running with the Power Whip. Why? We want to do big damage as much as we can with our Stab Grass moves in case that we're in a format that is really favorable to water types, to ground types, whatever the case might be. Then I have, weirdly, a Light Clay set. Why Light Clay? Well, I want to just showcase a set that relied on not just Leech Seed and Protect, so I want to incorporate Light Screen and Reflect here as well to be able to support the rest of your team, because you can get rid of the items on Pokemon, Leech Seed to chip them down to give recovery to your setup sweepers, and then you can set up screens as well so that they can be just breaking as much as possible. Now for some predictions. Where do I think this Pokemon is going to end up when the dust all settles, when we have the final tiering for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? I think that in the Smogon tiers, because again, we're going to cover Smogon, VGC, and Draft League as well. For Smogon, this Pokemon is going to end up in the RU tier. Yeah, this is the lowest Pokemon so far. Maybe second lowest, the bare minimum. Either way, the defensive typing sucks. I don't like it. There's too many weaknesses. Yeah, it resists a lot, but the Grass type is such a terrible defensive typing. Yeah, Dark's a great defensive typing, but they just don't protect each other enough, in my opinion, to really make it worthwhile. It takes huge damage from the most common move in the game being U-turn, which really sucks. I also think that the only thing that stops it from going down to NU is the fact that it has insane stats and a really good ability. That's it. But I don't think this thing can even stay in the UU tier. It really is not going to be sticking around there. Now for VGC, this Pokemon is fine, but it's the worst of all four of them for sure. Its support moves are fine. It's not that good for doubles though. It really has a couple of other options that it would rather run that other Pokemon get. Basically, the roles that it fills in VGC can easily be replicated by other Pokemon, and that's kind of the problem here. You don't want to have a Pokemon that's so easily replaced as one of your best Pokemon, and that's why I think that Wo-Chien is going to be not really in the upper echelon or even the middle tiers, to be honest. They're just better Darks and better Grass types available. That's the problem. Its ability can also have a negative impact on your own team, and at the same time, to top it all off, you can't even actually use it in the VGC formats right now because the VGC decided to ban all the Paradox Pokemon and decided to ban all the Dark Quartet as of this moment. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but I do think there's some playability when it does get released or become legal. I just don't think it's going to be enough to really justify using it over other Dark types and other Grass types. Now for Draft League. Draft League is my specialty, and in terms of what I believe this Pokemon will end up being in terms of a 17 to 18 point scale, I believe that this Pokemon will end up being pretty solidly into the 9 or 10 points. I think that, honestly, it'll be better in Draft League than in anywhere else. Why? Because you can really build around effectively protecting Wo-Chien. Wo-Chien can support a team very well. We've seen Pokemon that are 4 times weak to U-turn, like Celebi, like Zarude, see a lot of success. So Pokemon like Wo-Chien shouldn't be any different. The issue is, it doesn't offer as much. The main thing is it's going to be a good pivot to come in, take a hit that it resists, and then switch out to something else on whether it's a U-turn or switching out to something else that's going to be forcing, whether your Wo-Chien is being forced out and you then come in after the fact and start breaking with another Pokemon, you're going to have to make predictions. I do think that on a very skilled player's hands, it should do a lot of work. You can prep for it, but it still has a lot of weaknesses. And for that reason, I don't think it's going to be anything higher than 9 or 10, but it is manageable, and that's why I think it could definitely crack the double-digit point total. And that's all I've got for you guys today on Wo-Chien, the funky snail Pokemon, part of the Ruin Quartet. Such a really weird Pokemon. And if you guys enjoyed the video or you learned something, then do me a favor and leave a like on the video and help us reach our like goal of 75 likes. Make sure to comment as well what your thoughts are on Wo-Chien. It'd really be benefiting the channel a lot. It would also enter you into the winnings or the chance to win the comment of the day and have your comment appear in the next video. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. We're looking to get to 3,000 subs by the end of the year. We're getting super close to it, so let's see if we can get there. As always, I want to give a big thank you to our YouTube channel members. Their support is very much appreciated. They went the extra mile by supporting the channel financially, and if you want to do so, you can get your name shouted out in videos as well. So shout out to our level 1s, which are Liv, Eric, Zeke, and Texas Man. Our level 2 is Tone, and our level 3 is Sully. Thank you all for the support. I really do appreciate it, and thank you all for watching as well. I hope you enjoyed the content, and I'll see you all tomorrow.